Original ideas will be in good supply this weekend at Victoria's third TEDx conference. The list of speakers is long, ranging from an urban farmer to an indie rocker. This week on the show, we're previewing some of the talks that are slated for this weekend's event. This morning, we take a look at a unique take on elementary school education. Tiffany Poirier is a teacher in the Surrey School District with a focus on education for gifted students in grades 5, 6, and 7, and she is also an advocate for philosophy education in elementary school and the author of the book Q is for Question, the ABC of Philosophy. And she's on the phone this morning for a bit of a preview of her TEDx talk. Tiffany Poirier, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Now, I took philosophy in university, but certainly never in elementary school. Why is it a good idea, do you think, to teach philosophy to kids?
That's a great question. Well, I had to wait too, as well. When I got to university, it was so exciting to finally be in a place where we could ask those questions that had always been in the back of my mind. And I think it's so important to give kids that opportunity to ask the big questions about life. What's the meaning of life? What is truth and justice and beauty? When they're young, because that's when these questions first occur to them. Like if you think back to when you were a kid, maybe you lay awake in bed at night wondering about, like, why are we here, and what does it all mean? So I think the questions occur naturally to kids, and it's just a shame that we don't listen better and find that out for ourselves.
So how does it look? I mean, if you had a philosophy curriculum for an elementary school, what would it look like?
Well, it's really important, I think, at the elementary level to start with the questions that emerge from the children's own lives. So what we do, some people think that teaching philosophy is about teaching a set of philosophical ideas, but that's not really how it looks in this model. What we do is I might start by getting the kids into a circle and asking them, what big questions have been on your mind lately? And then let them generate their own questions that have come from their own lives. Like, what did they see on the playground? Did somebody get into a fight? Well, what's the right way to treat people? Or the questions if they've been watching the media and seeing what's going on in politics and how people relate to each other, or when they dream about what a perfect world would be like. So we'll collect all those questions, and then we'll sort through them and think about the different types of questions. So like a scientific versus a philosophical question, we'll choose a question, and then the kids will dive in and share their ideas and develop reasoned arguments and challenge each other. And it's really neat to watch. We teach them lots of skills for how to develop these arguments, but it's always about their own ideas and developing them and going in their own direction.
Can you think of an example? I mean, a question that a grade 5 or 6 or 7 student might come up with, a good philosophical question that might be a decent example of this?
Oh, yeah, and even younger. I mean, we've done this work with kids in grade 2 and grade 3, and I can even just give you an example from that. A grade 3 kid, they were out on the playground, and we were looking, they were seeing kids fighting on the playground, and they wanted to know, well, why would somebody push me? And he was hogging the swing. And so just that very question of how to treat people, and that emerged into another discussion of, well, what would an ideal playground be like? And so then they start to think about the features, and it branched from moral philosophy and ethics into sort of the metaphysical realm where they're talking about what properties things should hold. So really interesting. And kids will ask big questions just like, what is the meaning of life? They hear this happening in their world.
Yeah, well, I'm laughing because it rings true. I get questions about the meaning of life every day from my sons, and I wonder if that's the case, and it sounds like you and teachers encounter it all the time. Why do you think philosophy has not been part of early learning in, well, at least the recent past?
Well, I think that actually a lot of philosophy is happening. We're just not calling a spade, because we're hearing this word inquiry a lot lately. And what that means is investigation into questions. And you can do inquiry in the sciences and in the humanities. And so I think a lot of teachers are exploring philosophical concepts. When you read a great novel and it inspires a big idea about the world, I think there is a lot of philosophy happening, but we're not maybe using the word. And also I think there's a lot of confusion about the term philosophy, because you think about that as a set of specific philosophical doctrines that are associated with religion and that. But we're talking about philosophy with kids more as a process skill. So I don't actually teach formal philosophies. We just do the dialogue and access the reasoning and the logic.
All right, you're not doing an intro to formal logic course here.
Well, we
9-year-olds.
give them little snippets because
Sure.
what, kids are so logical, and they can develop that skill. So, but it's not that intimidating variety.
You work, I mentioned in the introduction, with gifted children who have an aptitude, I'm guessing, for additional subjects. Do you think there's much room in the regular curriculum for more material such as philosophy?
Absolutely. Well, my official job title is I work as a challenge teacher in gifted education, but I work in an inner city school, and I work with kids of a huge range of ages and backgrounds and abilities. So, we've done this work with kids who have special needs, kids from a huge range of abilities, and it's amazing because every human being on this planet has a vested interest in figuring out their lives, and we all can find our own way in these philosophical dialogues, and we all do. And I like to think about it like the analogy of a physical education teacher, because if we go to do high school basketball, there are going to be some kids who are going to be slam dunking, and there are going to be some kids who are going to be working on dribbling and the ball and just refining their skills. And that's what we do in philosophy too, is we access the learning where the student is at, and we follow them, we listen to see what they're ready for, and they lead the way in this.
And at a time when we hear from teachers of fewer resources, bigger classes, heavier workloads and so on, do you think it might be difficult to convince other educators that adding philosophy is a good idea or not?
Well, I think it's a really easy sell. I mean, there's some research that's come out about how in the UK, but when you actually instill these philosophy programs, you get more bang for your buck in terms of kids' academic achievement that comes as a result of all the critical thinking skills that they're developing. That kind of stuff. It makes a difference in kids' academic lives, and also the kids love it. And so, in terms of just engagement. And it's very possible to weave this throughout the curriculum. We can do philosophy when you're in the math class, when you're thinking about what is a number. And you can do philosophy in history and just weave it throughout the day. You don't have to have a set class time for philosophy. You can just take a philosophical approach and, as a teacher, be a facilitator of big questions and big ideas.
Tiffany, this is an interesting idea. I'm glad you could give us a preview before your TEDx talks. Thanks for joining us this morning. Nice to talk to you.
Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun. Take care.
Tiffany Poirier is a teacher in the Surrey School District and an advocate of more philosophy education for young people. She's one of the presenters at the TEDx conference in Victoria on Saturday. You can find out more information, tickets, and so on at tedxvictoria.com. And tomorrow on the show, we'll speak to another presenter at the conference, Jose Barrios, on crowdsourcing scientific research. It's 2 minutes to 8 now, and Madeline Green joins us with the local CBC News headlines.